Namaskar. Hello and welcome to 𝗫𝗶 channel. I'm your host 𝗖𝗵𝗶, and we have today the pleasure of company of my good friend Elmer Yuen as we bring you some new developments from China, as well as what Elmer has been up to in his effort to free Hong Kong from the clutches of China. Elmer, namaskar and welcome to 𝗫𝗶 channel.
How are you? Thank you for inviting me.
Always a pleasure to have you on our channel, Elmer. So first off, let's talk a little bit about what you've been up to recently. You've been jetting around the whole world. For you, there is no COVID, no nothing. You've been working really hard to put some events together. Perhaps you can share what events are you putting together with our audience?
First of all, I'm not not as romantic as you say I am. I'm a fugitive and a homeless fugitive. I'm not allowed to go back to Hong Kong or China. And my only choice is to travel the world and fight the Chinese Communist Party. So one day, if they disappear, then I can go home. So it's not by choice. And so my only choice right now is to take down the CCP. And I don't have I don't have an army or the military. All I have is myself and my mouth. So I'm lobbying the world to recognize what CCP is. You are not dealing with a government. You really are not. If you treat them a government, you are fooled. And because of that decision, you treat them as a normal government, then all your judgment and all your decisions about how to deal with them is flawed. This is the problem. I like to repeat my stand, and I'm going to repeat again if I come to India or anywhere. I'm going to host a banquet in Washington, D.C., and then I have a trip to Taiwan, invited by the presidential office, and then I have a big rally in London. And all I'm saying is, you are dealing with a transnational criminal organization. You're not dealing with a normal nation or state. So you need to treat them that way. This Chinese Communist Party has formed for 100 years, and they have done crime after crime. You see, right now, if you don't call them as a criminal organization, we start forgetting they are the cause of the pandemic. Suddenly, we don't recall anymore because there's a new crime. They are invading India. So suddenly you think, oh yeah, they're invaded. You forgot to mention they are the cause of the pandemic, which is getting more serious than ever. So this is the reason you have to put them into a collective term. So whatever they do is natural, all right? Because if you're a criminal organization, it's like the mafia. If they start extorting this and then that, and then they kill certain people, that's natural. It's not an accident. It's not by decision. This is their nature. A scopier is a scopier, all right? So you cannot live with a scopier. So what I'm doing is I have a banquet in the end of January with the people who share the same spirit, politicians and congressmen in Washington D.C. I want to thank them for fighting with us and fighting with you too. You know, I mean, they against the Chinese Communist Party. And then in March, I'm going to Taiwan again to host a rally, and we are invited with Mr. Pompeo and Miles Yu to be in Taiwan. Again, we'll do it again in April in England. And England will be pretty big because there are a lot of Hong Kong people just arrived in England. I think already recently up to 90,000 people have arrived in England from Hong Kong. So that's how bad it is. At the end of the day, I would say, is there going to be, we're going to lose 1 million people. And Hong Kong just finished their so-called show election of the Legislative Council. Of course, you know, none of the pan Democrats, which, you know, I'm one of them, has been elected or allowed to be elected. Let's put it that way. It's a fake. It's the whole thing is a show. The Chinese they are breaking all their promises for the British-Sino joint declaration. So what they are doing is just do it their way because Xi Jinping is really, he believes there's no need to be nice. I have to do what I have to do. And the latest I heard from China on India is that they are not capable of invading Taiwan. they can make some trouble in the offlying islands from Taiwan. And this is their one choice. The other choice is to fight a war in India, because that they have pretty good confidence they can make some headways. Hopefully, okay, that's what they believe. All right. So these are the easy ones. Xi Jinping needs to do that to unite the people under him, because you don't change leadership while you have a conflict, international war or conflict going on. So this is what may happen very, very shortly between now and the 20th Congress in China. So I think we should all be very careful to watch out. The situation is pretty serious, uh, according to the information I received.
Now, Elmer, thanks for that update, and I wish you all the best for all these three events. Let's take a quick look at where we left off as far as the crash of the Chief of Defense Staff, 𝗵𝗵 𝗵𝗏, General 𝗵𝗵 𝗵𝗏's helicopter. Now, we thought, and you and I, you expressed the fear that this is too close to what happened in Taiwan, where a helicopter carrying the general went down, and the black box has been retrieved. There was one survivor, but that person died after 10 days, unfortunately. So India is no closer to getting to the truth than it was before. Very unfortunate. Now, one of the things that is being looked at, I mean, there are people scouring the ground for leads and so on and so forth, but the black box was recovered at least 2 weeks ago. Nothing has come out of it. No news, no nothing. And the Indian government has put out a thing saying, oh, please don't speculate. Please don't speculate on the cause of the crash. Well, speculation apart, we can at least look at the technical ways in which a helicopter can be brought down. And you and I were discussing offline about this. Perhaps you can share your thoughts on how you understand when a helicopter is on in air, what happens, and where are all the weak links, so to say.
First of all, both government, the Chinese government or the Indian government, they don't want you to speculate. All right, this is the way they try to do their politics. But we are human beings, and you have a democracy. People are the master of the country. They have the right to know. This is not just an ordinary accident or plane crash. This is your most important military guy, and the team was on it. So it's whatever they say. And when such thing happen, there will be no evidence, because both sides, China or India, will try to. They have no reason to show anything. So it's perfectly okay for all the newspapermen, even for citizens like us, to speculate, because otherwise, what kind of democracy it is if there's no transparency? So we must we must play detective. Especially, you are almost on the verge of a war with China. How can you not suspect your potential enemy? Not potential enemy, you're already, head with head with them. So how can you not suspect? That is my question. All right. And when you suspect, you should look at what they have done in the past. And it happens. Right now, China has the best drone technology. Okay, U.S. of course also very good, but the U.S. just put a sanction on one of the Chinese company, for making commercial and military drones. All right, they just shut them down and not supplying chips to them anymore. If you can control a drone to do anything you want, how can you not control a helicopter? It's easier. All right. And a helicopter is a very old technology. I mean, the communication system of a helicopter, which is probably pretty standard in India, you communicate with all your planes, or at least all your military planes. You have a system which does not get updated every day like our iPhones. All right. And then the flight control, which is made by Russian. Russia is not that great in software. So that flight control software is pretty standard, and China buys the same software from Russia, and it's nothing for them to get into the communication, which of course is wireless, right? And Huawei is the best in the world. I mean, you have to give credit for it. Huawei is the best in the world. It's nothing wrong with them getting into their communication, and then and then either planting a bug or directly control your flight system. This is simple logic. You don't need a rocket scientist to figure that out. So what I'm saying, this is I believe probably happened in Taiwan to their chief of staff, and also what happened in your case. So it's very similar. You know, when you are detective, you look for MO, right? So this is the most probable suspect. The MO is very, very similar. All right. Even the target is very, very similar. How can you not suspect? So what I would check is really what caused the crash. It should be recorded in the black box. The software, I don't believe it's in the black box, but what caused the crash? And from that cause of the crash, we should say. But if the Indian government wants to keep it confidential, they have a point too. All right, we cannot blame them because you don't want the enemy. You don't want your enemy to know that you know. Right? That's standard practice in warfare. Right? You don't want you like to your enemy to believe that you don't know. All right. So that's also very normal. So I believe that, but as a human being, as an independent thinker that we all are, and we as a democracy, we have the right to investigate, and we have the right to believe, and we have the right to suspect, especially against such a criminal organization.
Now, Elmer, one other data point for you is that the bodies burn very, very quickly. And even the general, except for his face, I believe the body was pretty charred. And many of the people, they had to do DNA tests to identify and confirm their identity. So it was a very gory crime. Now, assume that the electronics malfunction, how do we account for the rapid catching of fire inside the helicopter? That's another one of those things that nobody is talking about. So if you want to really set the thing alight so much, there must have been something where, I mean, see, this is where I have a theory that it must have been some external thing. Your thoughts?
Siri, I want to, it's not so easy to plant a bomb in the chief of staff's plane. It's really not that easy for China, especially, you know, to them, it's a foreign country. They have all kinds of problems. So it's not that easy. And I believe, you know, military is pretty good in security, in safeguarding. So it's not that I don't want to believe that. But was that the plane taking off, or how long it's been flight? Because there should be, if they charge so easily, there should be a lot of fuel inside the helicopter. And when the fuel gets exploded, everybody gets charred. So was the accident? How long was the accident happen after takeoff? So that should be suspected.
Yeah, so a couple of data points again for you. It was, I think, 10 minutes into flight when this happened, and the helicopter was decided as the mode of transport at the very last minute. He was driven to his destination.
I see.
So then, you know, they do, you know, they don't trust anything, and they say, okay, they have 3 ways to go there. So he chooses eeny, meeny, miny, mo, something like that. So it was 10 minutes into flight, but it must have had enough fuel. Fuel would have been there. But I think somebody is saying that, you know, helicopter control is very complicated. Don't say that. But I think we have to say that Collins, which is the basic brains behind this kind of software, has been around for a while. And I don't think they would have changed that part. They have to envelope that with security, like encryption, to send the data up and down. So anyway, so these are some of the things that probably need to be looked at. And certainly, you know, people who have some idea about how these things work, I think we're not convinced that it would have been just brought down like that. By the way, the plane was very new. They had been tested. No, the general doesn't fly in an untested plane. It was a very new, so it's not like fatigue or something like that.
It's a Russian plane, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So Russian plane do
70
not use
M7.
the American aeronautics, right? They have their own, which is very
I
backward,
see.
honestly, because it's all electronics. And Russia has always been known. They buy some chips through Europe from the States to build this, but not the latest chip and not the latest technology. So, but of course, they sell the same plane to China, and China is fully aware of how this thing is made. And so it's very easy for China to understand how the aeronautic works and how because they buy the same plane and also how they control. But Siri, I need to I don't know I've said this on your program or not. In the States we have Wi-Fi, right? I assume you have the same in India, in most families or in most neighborhoods. The Wi-Fi, the world's Wi-Fi, I would say almost 99%, if not 100% of the routers, all right, the one you plug into whatever your
Cable
coaxial
modem. Yeah,
cable,
yeah, yeah.
coaxial cable or your optical fiber. This piece is 99% made in China. All right,
Yes.
and even they have different brand name and so on and so forth. But the chip is designed in China and probably farmed out in Taiwan. So every chip, every router has not a back door, has a front door for upgrading, right? Otherwise, when the software everything for updating, so they have access. The Chinese have access to all your home and all your mobile phone. I believe India buy you. I used to buy a lot of phones from China, like a Xiaomi or something, and the government will force all these mobile phone companies to make sure if they want to listen in. It's really not even, I don't even call it backdoor anymore. You are fooling yourself by calling it backdoor. If they can automatically update your phone, all right, from time to time, means they can do anything to your phone. If they can change the whole operating system or update the whole operating system, they can do anything. So right now, I do not, I do not believe that my conversation or any time is secure. Everything, they know everything, or at least they record everything, and whenever necessary, they go back and listen to it. I don't know about India, but I believe everything I say, I do. Both the US intelligence and the Chinese intelligence have fully recorded it. And then it's up to them when they have time to really go through it or analyze. And if they have AI, it automatically analyze and then send a up to minute report to them if I really have a plan against them. So please do not believe anything is secure. Nothing is secure. All right. I don't even believe. That's why you see sometimes the U.S. president go to meetings in Camp Davis. They believe that location is more secure than the White House. So I don't even believe the White House is secure. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. And now let us jump into the topic that we promised our viewers, which is the deep state and its role in combating Xi. Just to set the context, all this started perhaps with Abraham Ma wanting to take his company public. And then the IPO was pulled, and then suddenly things started unraveling. So the deep state had a lot invested in a lot of things. Perhaps from a deep state perspective, Elmer, share your thoughts and then bring us up to now as to where the latest area of action is between the two sides.
First of all, I was the first company to go to China and start doing business with them back in 1977 when they first opened up. Deng Xiaoping decided to open up the country, and I was the first one from Hong Kong to be invited. Hong Kong is the first to invest in China. So, and then I deal with all the high level people in China until only a year and a half ago when I came to the States, right? To because of this national security law to lobby US against the Chinese Communist Party. That's what I'm doing now. So I understand how this whole thing works. And after 1977, I lived in China for almost 20 years. And so 10 years Shanghai, 10 years Beijing. And I deal with very high level people. From 1989, the Tiananmen accident, Jiang Zemin, which is became the party secretary then, was running the country, and from 1989, and he decided even up to 2015 or even 2015, every head of the province and all the bureaus, ministries, and down to many levels, all the heads, when they assign communists, it's a centralized. First of all, China is a centralized country. It's not like United States or India. All the government officials of each province, the high level ones, is appointed by the central government. So Jiang Zemin was has to decide everything. So he has his own people control China. And this is and he started in 1989, and he retired in about 8 years. And his own people, all right, his own people was running it until even after Xi Jinping is in power. And Xi Jinping was selected by him. First of all, he selected by him as a compromise because there was a crime, which we'll go into that later. So, and Xi Jinping basically decided he wants to consolidate power. He started in 2012, and he exposed himself maybe about a couple of years later. So he started to consolidate his own power, first in the military and in the police. And we thought he was successful. He was not. First of all, he does not have the full blessing of the Jiang. Jiang is still alive, almost 100 years old. All right. But his people, his team is very active. They control every part of China until even now. I would still use the word, I would put a percentage. He controls, Xi Jinping basically has only about 40% of control of China. The Jiang family, so let's call them the deep state, all right, because there are many families involved. The Jiang family control about 60% of China, but we don't know. I mean, it's not read up in the news. Occasionally, there's some leak. So they control, especially the economy. If you look at Hong Kong, Xi Jinping has sent in this national security law. You believe he control? He wants to control. Does not mean he has control. He sent in his chief guys, as you know in politics, to send in your head guys, but to be able to control. Hong Kong is a very complex city. You need at least 10 to 20 years to put your own people into every different level, into all the different organs to control. So Xi Jinping only has less than 40% control of China, and mainly in the so-called military and in the police and in the news area, media, propaganda. So I would say in all three, he has less than 70% control. So you have to understand, China is still controlled by the deep state. It's very much similar to Donald Trump. We believe Donald Trump is all powerful and so on and so forth. Then it came the re-election. You knew what happened. Suddenly found out he has very, very few friends. I mean, that's how bad it is. All right. They told me in the State Department, basically, Mike Pompeo and Miles were working on their own. Most of the people at the State Department were not on their side. So this is exactly what happened in China with Xi Jinping. All right. He came in. He does not have a big team, a very small team. His team is less than 1,000 people. That's how bad it is. All right, because he was stationed as a governor, party secretary for Fujian and Zhejiang, and then very shortly in Shanghai. So he had very limited power. Now he tried to grab power, and by first starting catching all the corruption, which meaning all the deep state's money, he is ruining their money, both their assets outside China, inside China. They get them arrested, get the whole family arrested, get them to cough out money. So he has huge enemy. I'm not saying what he's done is wrong, all right? But he is selectively catching all these so-called corrupted officials, which belong to the deep state. All right. So this is how serious it is. So, and then he openly, not only against the world, he actually, Donald Trump forced him to really to open up himself against outside the world. He wanted to wait until 2035, but Donald Trump forcing him, and he lost patience. He blew up, and then he started making the whole world as his enemy. But inside China, he also opened up. He said, "I want to grab power. I want to be the only one. I want my lifetime run like a pudding." So during the 2 weeks ago, during the sixth plenary, he started claiming power. He basically wanted to say that he inherited the legitimacy of Chairman Mao. All the leaders between then, that Chairman Mao and him were no good. They were on the wrong path, right? So that's what he was aiming to do about 2 weeks ago, unsuccessfully. So as a result, after that meeting, which is it's called a Central Committee meeting, sixth plenary, meaning all the Central Committee members, there are 400, about 400 of them, and the Politburo, and everybody has to be there. And they were locked up there for almost 10 days. The resolution came out 5 days late, meaning they have argument. All right, they have argument. There's a notice, and the resolution, the written resolution came out 6 days late, and it's very different from what they reported happened in the meeting. Meaning there were huge fight, and finally it came out that everything he wished did not happen. Did not happen. Meaning he met huge opposition, and the opposition were organized to take a stand at the sixth plenary. And it actually happened. Now a lot of information is leaked out. So what happened, there was even rumor, or there's even rumor, because we haven't really seen him in person in public. So there's rumor he has limited movement. Means he's being controlled. All right, there's rumor. All right, I have no confirmation, but I feel I have duty to tell my audience. So there's rumor. That's huge, and you can see from their newspaper, their all papers all controlled, that there are a lot of opposing essays on him, about him, and glorify what Deng Xiaoping did in open up China and reform. So which means he has lost control, even the media, which in communist country, that's natural. We always believe he has control of the media. Now we feel that he has less than 50%, right at this moment, he has less than 50% control of the state media. That is very serious, meaning there is an indication he's not 100% in power. He's less than 50% in power. So right now, so what happened, Xi Jinping is bad for business, all right? Anti-corruption, and as you can see, he stopped the IPO for the Ant Financial a few months ago, when Jack Ma was trying to put the company public in Hong Kong. And it was a huge IPO. The IPO should raise something like 30 billion US dollars. I mean, this is the biggest IPO in the world. All the world's money went to Hong Kong, all right, to try to subscribe to it. And as you know, I'm sure in India you have a IPO subscription. Sorry, you go ahead. Yes.
I switched to 5G instead of Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Wi-Fi is hackable, but the 5G may not be.
Is it better now? Are you able to hear me better?
I reset the whole thing and went to 5G instead of Wi-Fi. But anyway,
Yeah.
where did I stop?
So my question to you, I had interrupted you. I apologize. What I was trying to say was, Ant Financial was one of the biggest IPOs, $30 billion. There must have been a lot of players from the West, US as well as Europe. How come all of them are keeping quiet?
No, first of all, it was stopped. All right, when the IPO is 30 billion, you have to guess maybe 20 times of that money went to Hong Kong to subscribe for it. People, you need to oversubscribe, and then
that's always true.
All that the same thing in India, right?
Yes.
And they by lottery or by percentage, you get what you want. So all that money put into Hong Kong, you know how much money from institutions? 30 billion times, let's say 100. It's $300 billion landed up in Hong Kong waiting. That's how much trust the world has in Hong Kong. All right, this is all cash. Money sent to Hong Kong, sitting in the banks in Hong Kong, waiting to subscribe to IPO. It was pulled. Xi Jinping at that moment decided to open war, to declare war with the deep state, which means since the deep state has all the benefit and control all the economy and the finance and everything about the China, he decided to basically to use the not so nice, decided to screw them, all right, by hurting them. Basically, his position, he believes by hurting these deep state, he can elevate his position and sabotage them. It's basically a simple sabotage. If we can weaken all his enemy, he make himself strong. That is a very basic guerrilla tactics, right? Or simple tactics. They are in wartime. They are not in peacetime. We believe that by hurting such a IPO, you're hurting the country. That's our mentality. His mentality is, if my enemy is weak, I am strong. It's wartime mentality. So from then on, he has done so many things. I would simply say, without exaggeration, since the end IPO, China has lost in terms of asset, all right, not in cash flow, but in terms of, let's say, asset. China, I'm talking about Chinese people, Chinese businessmen, the world's people invest in China over and over 4 trillion US dollars.
Oh my
Meaning
God.
the drop, drop in share price is huge, right?
Yes, yes,
That
yes,
is a
yes,
loss. That's
yes.
considered a loss. Money leaving China. And it happened at the same time. But when money leave, the stock price drop, right? And then you have this Evergrande, who has failed to pay their interest. All right. And what happened is when you fail to pay your interest, all people don't consider Evergrande as a private company. They consider as one of the biggest Chinese companies listed in the Hong Kong Exchange. And when you default on your interest, then they take the entire portfolio, the Hong Kong H group meaning China public company listed in Hong Kong. They take so all their, you know how much they borrow, including from US and from Hong Kong and from the world, another $3 trillion. These guys have borrowed, and all of a sudden everybody's scared, all right, and so they want to pull. I'm talking about outside all the loans, so stock market, the bond market, and actual money leaving China. There is so much loss you cannot believe. I'm not exaggerating. This is between the end finance, stopping of the finance till now. The loss both inside and outside China are in trillions of dollars. Nobody has time, but I'm not exaggerating. And he is willing to do that. Can you imagine? This is what communism. Communism does not have a smooth transfer or legal way of transferring power. They fight. They fight. And when they fight, they don't care or about how the country, how the people suffer. This is exactly what happened to Chairman Mao. He earned power in 1949. And throughout 1949 to now, it's about 72 years. In the 72 years, he has done nothing to really build the Chinese economy. So all he did is to grab power. Whenever people try to take power from him, he fight. And when he fights, he doesn't care about people dying. That's why, as a result of power struggle, irregular death in China from 49 to now is close to 80 million lives. I have many friends went to India and say, "Oh, India has no future," and so on and so forth. They cannot consolidate their power. The many communist friends, they told me, and I asked them one question. I said, "Nobody died. Nobody died. Nobody died of such political struggle. 80 million. You're not kidding. You're not talking about a small number. 80 million people died from the Big Leap Forward, from starvation, from cultural revolution, and from the beginning. Many unrecorded. So this is what I told them. I said, nobody died. They are moving slowly, but nobody died. What's more important than people's life? So anyway,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So sorry. So in conclusion is this infight is so serious. They don't give a shit about U.S. anymore. How the whole world feels about as long as he get power. It is almost coming to a head within months. Sorry.
Now, I have a couple of questions. You've given me so much information that I was trying to keep my questions in my mind. The first question that comes to mind is the recent incident where Vladimir Putin has refused to sell aircraft engines to China.
Now, I want to, before we talk about evidence, we have to talk about background. You see, that's why I give you so much facts, because I need the audience to understand background. All right, Jiang Zemin, the same person got into power, the party secretary, in 1989. We suspect, all right, he had an education in Moscow, in the university. We suspect somehow he was partly compromised, not completely. So what happened, after he got into power, he started this Shanghai, there is an organization called Shanghai Organization, all right? He rounded up all the Chinese neighbors, all right? I think India is also part of it, all right? It's called the Shanghai. So he had a big conference in Shanghai.
SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Council.
Exactly, yeah, I forgot the word cooperation. So India is part of it. And Mongolia is like an observer, but Russia is the most important part. Russia and all the ex-Soviet, they had a meeting and they fixed the border. Now, this is very, very serious, all right? He gave the whole entire Russian Far East to Putin, to the Russian Federation, which means he fixed the borderline, and that part, the Far East Russia, if you look at map, is so huge. It's equivalent to the entire Western Europe. He basically gave away that land to Russia. Give away, let's define the word, no more dispute. There was actually no international treaty on that piece of land, all right? And Stalin once said, oh, once we become friends, we are going to give that piece of land back to you. That piece of land, very, very few people live in, but unbelievable resource. I think if China has that piece of land, it will have enough oil and natural gas and wood and minerals and gold for 100 years without having to import. So he gave away that piece of land. And between him and Putin, they are like this. They are like this. They are like buddies. All right. And Putin, when he went to Shanghai to pay respect to Xi Jinping, he does not go to see Xi Jinping first. He visits Jiang Zemin first. So then you know the relationship. It's an unbelievable relationship. In fact, Putin despised Xi Jinping. Let me tell you, Xi Jinping paid a lot of money, gave him a lot of benefit, but he looking at him from a political level, he despised him. I mean, if you compare Putin, you have to give him credit. Putin is number one first-class statesman in the world. Let me tell you, it's still standing there when the real world is changing premier from time. But so they are actually friends. They are buddies. They have trust. So what happened is Jiang Zemin, meaning the deep states, have been working with Biden administration to take out Xi Jinping. And they're also working with Putin administration to take out Xi Jinping because Xi Jinping is back for business. In the last 7 or 8 years, the 7 years, China went from peak, all right, meaning all the Wall Street and everybody that makes money, Hollywood, everybody, now to doing nothing. Next year, there will not be one Hollywood film going to China, all right? And no more IPO. The IPO has completely stopped. All the Chinese public company in the States, 200 of them will all move back to Hong Kong. This is a huge, huge loss for Wall Street, not only in money, but in face. How do they answer to their investors? Please.
Yeah, the question, that was what I was going to say. And financial IPO stopped close to 18 months ago, I think. And everybody said that, oh, US is going to do something. Even under Donald Trump, it did not do anything. So how is Wall Street sitting tight? And how come the markets are not reflecting this reality that they have money locked up?
No. Luckily, U.S. has printed a lot of money. Also, all right, you can see that. I mean, U.S. is what, 30-some trillion dollars in debt, and that money,
Yes.
and they've been being flooded into the system, and everybody have that money and buying more shares. So the U.S. stock market is still okay, except now, of course, it's this Omicron stuff. But otherwise, U.S. is doing okay, and money are slowly coming back to the states slowly. But the altogether, I would say the U.S. exposure in China, $6-7 trillion, and I would say that maybe 70% will never return. And you know what is the best solution when you don't pay back a debt? All right, it's to start a war. All right, then everything goes to reset. I'm not kidding. You look at history.
Absolutely
When people
true.
have problems repaying debt, they start a war, and then nobody talk about the debt anymore. And at the end of the war, they have a settlement, and then start over again. So this is the way. So what I'm saying is that this deep state is working with Russia, Putin, and working with whoever is behind Biden, which would be Obama, John Kerry, and so on, and Susan Rice, to take out Xi Jinping. That's why you saw George Soros change his position, flipped. It very much Xi Jinping is in the same position as Donald Trump over a year ago, meaning over a year ago. So meaning they want him out.
So take a look at the crystal ball and give us an idea of who will succeed Xi and when.
No, before I go into that, so Xi Jinping, of course, is not going to lie there and let them walk over him. He has to fight back. How? So either start a limited war in Taiwan or start a limited war in India, so that people will rally against him. So a rally for him, so that he can stay in that position. This is why I say we are in a very, very critical time, because he is backed up in the corner. He is right now because he has done nothing economically for China. He has lost all the popularity and credibility. His only way to do it is to start a war to try to regain his credibility. So this is why I say why I'm so serious about joining your program, because I want them to know from the background, not from the so-called evidence. By the time you get evidence, the war is over. Right? So by understanding, by preparing yourself, Taiwan and India need to fully prepare themselves for a sudden attack.
So to summarize what we just learned today, the Xi is bad for business, and deep state is trying to get him removed. And the United States exposure in China is close to $6 to $7 trillion, and
Yes.
Xi only perhaps has less than around 40% of the people with him. The other 60% is with deep state. And
Yes.
in order to divert people's attention, Xi might start a war. Whether it is Taiwan or India is to be decided, but it's looking more and more like India, because I don't know how much you know the geography there,
I know
but
quite a bit.
there's a small kingdom called Bhutan.
Yes.
And what what China has done is they have bought 5 kilometers area around the border of Bhutan. That Bhutan is a landlocked country, and on 3 sides it has India, on 1 side it has China. So in that 5-kilometer strip, China has laid down roads. So essentially between India and Bhutan border, there's a complete road now. What used to be natural foliage, now it's got a road. And I think she is trying to tell India that from Bhutan, if you look down on Bangladesh, it's not very far, 50, 60 kilometers. So they can make a thrust. And then the rest of northeast of India is separated. And she can come in from Niangqing, and that's only 50 kilometers from the border. And boom, everybody comes in. India has lost its northeast completely. I may be painting a dire picture here, but the fact that he is building roads along the borders of Bhutan tells you that there is something afoot. So we are going to put up a picture just now to show you where the Bhutan is. You can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at the area between Bangladesh and Bhutan, it is very, very, very small. That area, this area, I'm just trying to use my mouse. I don't know if the viewers can see it. This is not very much. It's maybe 100, 150 kilometers. That's it.
Yes.
That's it. So this is the vulnerable spot, because once that happens, the rest of the northeast is gone.
Yes.
So this is.
But Siri, I need to interrupt you. When you deal with China, they play a game of chicken. You should include nuclear as part of your preparation. All right. They will not hesitate to threaten you with nuclear arm. They will not hesitate, because they don't really care if you strike back with nuclear arm. They don't, because they don't believe in people's life. All right, there's no voting in China. Right? People means nothing to them. So they are, and especially in your area where there's not that many people, they may not use it, but they may use nuclear to threaten you, and you need to prepare yourself how the whole country will react. Otherwise, if everybody's scared, you have a problem too. It's really a game of chicken. They may use the same tactic against the U.S. in the Taiwan area, in the South China Sea and Taiwan Sea, because normal country like India or United States, the people do not want to even hear anything about a nuclear war. All right, so they may force the government to negotiate, and under negotiation, at least he has his objective, meaning you come to me to negotiate. All right, and he has achieved his objective. Then the people will say, "Oh my God, we do have a courageous, a brave leader who's willing to stand up against India or US." You see, this is his objective. Whether the land means nothing to him, all right, to occupy your land, this means that the most important thing, he wants his people, meaning Chinese people, to respect him and let him continue to be their ruler. This happens also, I'm sure, in history many, many times. All right, whoever has the guts, all right, to win the war, then he get like Napoleon, right, has the respect of the people. This, you have to look at it from that angle. Do not look at it from this conventional war system. Means nothing to him. All right. China have a lot of land. I've been to Tibet. I've been to Xinjiang. We have too much land. This is all nonsense. Fighting over land. It's all about power. And for the communists, it's about staying in power. It's not about country's power. About his personal staying in power. Please look at it from this angle. And then if you deal with the politician, then you understand. Staying in power is all the business. If you are not in power, you are nobody. So they would do anything. Mao started the Cultural Revolution, Big Leap Forward, everything, just to stay in power. And he did until his death.
Now, one other thing that we missed out, which we are going to touch upon now, perhaps the most important thing, is the number of space rockets that China is losing out this year. We're not saying some country is shooting it down. We're just finding some interesting oddity in the statistic that China has lost more rockets this year than you finished the sentence for me.
Yeah, only last week they lost one when they launched. So, and they are altogether almost in the last 12 or 15 months. If you go up Google, there's about 5 of them lost. And China has been very, very successful in launching rockets. This is not that hard. Once you are successful, you have a system, right? How come they're losing so many? And I firmly believe, all right, I really don't have anything to evidence to show. There's a sabotage from the United States. Of course they won't say it, and they're going to blame me for saying it. I don't care, all right, because I have to say what I feel. U.S. can easily control their Chinese GPS system. They have something called the North Star or something. The Chinese have their own system, and the U.S. have their own system. They can control many things, and they, of course, can control what's happening inside the rocket. It's not so difficult to control. And there's wireless control between the rocket and the ground. And the control center, there's of course wireless communication. And US, they are also very, very good in breaking that communication. So I dare to suspect that it's sabotage from the United States. And if they can do that, then you know that China can also do it to the helicopters. So this is not so hard for US because US is so much ahead in space, right? Space technology, space communication, and they don't say anything, but they are very good in their hacking also. They don't need to do anything, just only software. And they need to teach the Chinese a lesson. I think there's tremendous tension inside the United States after the hypersonic launch, the missile. Tremendous pressure on the U.S. in different. I heard already. I'm in Washington. Department of Defense, all these different organizations. They've already farmed out how, to the private sectors like Lockheed Martin and all these countries how to take care of this because right now China on this hypersonic, China seems to have the upper hand, and everybody's very, very nervous. And also, I mean, the story on the submarine is not finished yet. Now they suddenly the U.S. Connecticut has been towed back to the West Coast, and they discover the head of that. They're called it's called the dome, right? DOME. The head is damaged. They have to remove it. It's not just hitting a little bump under the water.
Uncharted sub-mountain or something like that. Uncharted sea mountain. That was the name they used. Elmer, there was a wealth of information that you shared with us today. And I'm going to spare you from questions because I know you have to go to another program almost immediately. Thank you very much. And viewers, please do like, share, and support our channel. And it's very important that our voice, Elmer's voice, be heard far and wide. So please share this video with your friends and family because there's a lot that is said. India must brace for a possible war. That's the takeaway. Also remember that China demonstrated their EMP allegedly in 2010 or 2011, almost 10 years ago, when they brought a cruise ship to a complete standstill by just killing the electronics on board, and nobody knew what to do. It was on high seas. It just completely stopped. You will not find much about this on web. There are 2 or 3 sites that talked about it, and the evacuation had to be done by the U.S. Coast Guard. 5 people, 10 people at a time. They had to run sorties from there to the mainland. It was a mess. So there are some things that China has tried, and it has even tried demonstrating. So those things, I think now perhaps US is beginning to pay back. We don't know that for a fact. US won't say it. China won't admit it. Just like the helicopter crash where India might not reveal what they found in the black box. Thank you once again, Elmer. I hope I summarized what you shared with us. And we'll be back again very, very quickly and talk about more developments in this area. Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.